And we're rolling.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about being a fakey faker.
And not keeping it real, not keeping it 100.
Well, I was.
And then there's a dog.
No, it was more of I had an idea of we have. It kind of stems from something I was talking about either with Cheryl or with Haley. I can't remember on one of the podcasts about parenting, about how when you don't have kids, you're very idealistic. You're very like, I would never.
If I had kids,
I would never.
I would never do that.
I would never do that. I would never let my kids eat this. I would never yell at them. I would never. We have a very idealistic point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And then
you say,
and then life happens.
Welcome to the jungle. I say.
Well, and then like life happens, or like situations happen, especially with parenting, where like it was with Haley, because I was talking about feeling like a failure as a parent, where like you get to in those moments of like I said I wouldn't do this, and here I am doing this or whatever. But then because we were talking about that, it made me think of that we do that on a daily basis, that we have, especially when we're younger, we have a idealistic thought of like what we want to be or the values that we have or what we want to be perceived as, pretty much. And then, life happens or whatever. But more so in depth of that, do you think that we look to be perceived that way, or that we are actually making efforts to be that person? Is it more so that like I just want the world to think on a small scale, I just want the world to think I'm a good person, but you're not making the effort to be a good person? And for you personally in your life, how do you deal with that?
It's funny.
Good comedian.
Yeah. What's funny? Yeah. Or what kills me? Gun to the head.
Gun to the head.
What's funny is, and I don't know if most people are like me, but I have such a high expectation of myself. And I've had a lot of my friends, you're a great guy. You're a great husband. You're a great this, you're a great that. And in my head, it's nice to hear that. But in my head, I'm failing at a lot of things. I expect myself at this level. And there are people that are at this level, I'm trying to get there, but I'm still down here. And people are like, oh, you're doing great. In my head, I'm not.
So, I'll ask you, we'll get back to the personally and day-to-day life. But because you said that about feeling like, everybody thinks you're up here and you still feel like you're down here, did becoming a parent or being a parent, did that change that? Or did that just amplify the...
Depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about as in being like parenting, becoming a parent to parenting, or are you saying, so this is my job as a truck driver, and now because I'm a parent, I'm not the best truck driver I could be?
I'd say more towards that, but for parenting. Like I said, when you start out as a parent, you have all these idealistic views of like, I'm this type of parent that I'm going to be. Did that amplify, did becoming an actual parent and the more kids that you had, did that amplify that thought of like, I wouldn't say I'm not good enough necessarily, but I'm not doing the best that I could be.
I put my dad on such a
I think I should be.
I put my dad on such a high pedestal that I never thought I could achieve how I felt about him. But there's a couple of sides to this. And maybe I have blinders on, but I just thought my dad was so awesome. I mean, he was at every single game, whether whatever sport it was. He was there all the time, taught me a huge amount. And then he dies. And now I start hearing quips from my sisters. Well, if he would have been so great, he would have stood up to your mom and just. I'm like, I have this guy on a pedestal. Don't try to knock him off. And he's dead now.
Also, why does that matter? I don't know how that sounds, but why does that matter to me?
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Everybody has their own perception.
well, it's kind of like, after and kind of a little bit of family drama, but that's kind of like Amanda not showing up to family functions, and then she does, and people are like, spend the whole time she's there being like, well, you didn't show up to this, and you didn't show up to this. She's here.
She's here now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
Can sit there and be like, well, he could have done this or he could have done this, but what I have is good enough for me.
Yeah. I think becoming a parent when your kids are young, you want to do everything perfect.
Mhm.
As they grow older, especially in their teenagers years, you kind of understand in your head that, as they say on the golf course, perfection is unattainable.
Yeah.
There's just way too many variables. But I feel, and some people could badmouth me.
Poofy.
I feel that I still stuck to my guns and said, no, this is the way it needs to be.
These are my things.
Your mom, God love her, but she kind of blurred that line a little bit. Oh, you don't feel good today, honey? You can stay home. He's not sick.
Very good actor, though.
Yeah, whatever. You didn't even have to act. Shut up.
There was one. I'm gonna tell a story real quick.
Wait a minute. But to my point, it's kind of like having a screaming match with your brother at, I think, 14 about legalizing pot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they haven't legalized it yet. And while they don't it's not legal in Wisconsin, you will not do it in my house or my garage or my
Mhm.
property. It's that simple.
Mhm.
And it became a screaming match. And it's so funny because the last time I seen him, I mentioned that. I go, legalize pot? Yeah. Because he kept saying over, but they're gonna. Well, yeah, they're gonna someday.
Well,
True.
for what it's worth, that's been my argument with that. Is like, it doesn't. I'm not the best example, and it'd be hypocritical for me to try to live in a perfect world of like kids are never going to do anything.
You're not a hippo.
But that's always been my thing. It's like, okay, that might be true, and I would have probably used the same excuse at your age. But the fact is, this is your age. This is the age that it's legal, and you're not it. So.
Yeah. Now, again, I'll go back to it. I understand in my head that what I just said is blurred a little bit because I think people like Brandon needed something.
Mhm.
Brandon needed something. And God love him, he didn't want to take drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And I love him for that.
For sure.
Although this drug was his drug, and
Mm-hmm.
so if that drug can help you make it through the day, I guess who is anybody to judge?
I agree.
Unless you're fooling yourself.
And also, but there's, I'm not going to go on a drug rant, but there is a line to where you as the person doing that need to be aware of that too, because I will agree. And this is going to sound mean, and I don't mean it in a mean way, but Brandon is a better person when he smokes.
Yep.
Not better in the fact that he's like a shitty person otherwise, but he's able to be more
relaxed.
Not just relaxed, but able to be more involved in the world around him, if that makes sense. Because he's so like everywhere all the time that it allows him to kind
calm
of
his head,
compartmentalize enough to be able to sit here and have a conversation.
Yep.
And be able to like rationally think instead of like,
hey, you're kind of annoying, Jackson.
But you did make
would.
but you did make a good parallel that kind of what I'm getting at with this is that let's take kids out of the equation. When you
Yeah.
when you get married or whatever,
Mhm.
and your husband, your perspective changes. Your
You have to think about somebody other than yourself.
priorities, your priorities change,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
So you go, before I could work at McDonald's with just me. I could work at McDonald's, I could pay my rent, I could buy junk food, I could play video games, whatever, just me. Then when you have somebody else, your priorities shift. That McDonald's job isn't good enough anymore. It's not sustained enough anymore.
And why is that? Because some woman had sex with you and says, hey, if you want to continue having sex with me,
I need
you're
more
going to get
money.
a better job or a couple of jobs to buy me a house to live in.
Anyway,
And you think, okay, that's what I have to do.
okay, but also on the other end of that, would you have done it any other way though? Would you not that way, but would you have done it on your own without somebody being like, this would be a really good idea for you? No.
No, there was a time when it just clicked.
Anyway, so your priorities change. That McDonald's job isn't good enough anymore. So then you start being like, oh, I have to work up to this job of this income, whatever. And in that time frame,
excuse me, you're not
your self-worth kind of comes into play. And that's where I feel like that gets amplified for not just husbands, but for people in general. Is when you get in a relationship, I think your self-worth amplifies to where that feeling of, am I good enough? Am I doing enough? Am I working hard enough to get what I need? Am I really trying my hardest to get a better job, or am I just doing the bare minimum to kind of sustain? And then when you add on children to that, I feel like that amplifies it even more, to where not only your parenting styles come into play, but also that self-worth of, this is who I want to be. Am I really doing this? Am I really working towards this, what I want to be, or am I just sitting here and I'm never going to achieve that? That makes sense.
I think I'm following you. So you're saying that I have more responsibilities.
Yeah.
To the point where, I wanted to become Superman at one time, but I now have a wife and now I
can't
have
afford
kids.
it. Now I can't afford a cape.
And I had to restructure my dreams to fulfill a family's dreams.
Mhm.
And that would be, getting a house, getting another car, getting this, getting that. And in the meantime, you lost yourself.
And am I?
Huh.
Yes.
And did you hear that over there? Huh.
Yes, that. But tied into, because of that, am I doing enough on my end? Even though I've put that aside, that the Superman thing not going to happen because of this that I chose. But because of that, am I really being who I want to be in this situation, or am I just kind of accepting this as my life?
Well, that's all up to you, though. See?
Kind of like, for an example that you've used before, kind of like a person that works at a factory and they put pins in holes.
Uh-huh.
They just accept, this is my life all day long. Every day I'm just going to put pins in holes.
M&M, 8 Mile.
instead of I'm good enough to go for that management position. I'm good enough to run home and get a dress shirt so that I can, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And that duality of figuring out,
Jackson, go to bed.
Is this who is it? Am I really working towards who I really am, or am I just accepting my life as it is?
But see, in what you just said, so that's where I'm going to say a lot of people have problems, because again, back to, you lose who you are. Yeah, I'm happy that I'm married.
Mhm.
I'm happy that I have kids. this is a different happiness for me.
Mhm.
But there's always going to be that in the back of my head.
Would I have been happier without
I could have
this?
been a neurosurgeon, you know. My wife laughs.
I think I think the I think as you get older, you need to, in my opinion, I think you need to find a balance between the two. I
You
think
do.
I think, and I haven't got there.
You haven't?
I haven't, because I'm not that old.
What do
as
you
people
What do
keep
you want
telling
to
me.
be when you grow up?
But I haven't gotten to a point of like I'm just a husband and a father, and I don't know who I am anymore. I never wanted this sort of like freak out that most people have for like midlife crisis where they get to a point where they're like, this isn't what I wanted to be. I wanted to ride motorcycles.
I
Up and
wanted
down the
that red
mountains."
Corvette. So I'm going to get it now.
Yeah. And so like I don't know, but I think that that's why that happens, is because people don't find a balance, that they kind of switch who they are instead of adding that on to who they are, if that makes sense.
So
Like,
I'm going to be that parent and that husband for the whole week, but I'm going to go golfing with my buddies on Sunday. And
even, yeah, well, that, or just
there you're saying you're getting away.
or just adding it, which is what I'm saying, adding onto that, not separating the two. If you're the type, again, there's room for nuance, so this isn't 100%, and I'm dumb, so don't take my advice anyway. But if you're the type of person
Go.
that likes going out drinking at a bar with your friends, and you and your wife or significant other, that's you did, you've been that person, and then you got married or you had kids or whatever, and you couldn't do that anymore. Instead of using that as well, I never get to do this, plan that for like once a week or once every couple weeks. They don't have to be separate, is kind of what I'm getting at.
So my question to you then is, yeah, and I'm thinking of your mom and I. What you just said happened to us, but we decided to do it together.
Mhm.
So Dave and Kathy as an example. So when we were younger and we got married and we used to go out drinking all the time, well, now our wives came out with us
Mhm.
and we did it together. When we were with Dave and Michelle, we went golfing together. So we still were there together. It wasn't a separate thing. So,
But going back to what I was saying before about the feeling like inadequate and it escalating those feelings, is that I feel like when we try to portray, and I know that I'm putting a lot of this on the parenting aspect of it, which is not really where it came from, but it makes it for a better example of, if you're trying to portray like you are a good dad, okay?
thanks.
You are. But if you didn't believe you were a good dad,
Mhm.
and you were just like, I just want people to see that I'm a good dad, if that makes sense.
It does.
Follow my train of thought. And you're not making the effort to do that,
So,
then it's just an idealistic thought of like, I just want to be seen this way. The same as being a husband. If you are like, I want people to think I'm this great husband, but you're sitting at home being like, I'm shitty at this, she doesn't really love me, but you're not making any effort. You're just chasing a different version of yourself.
So you want people to like you, but if you ask your wife and kids, he's kind of horseshit.
Or you think you're horseshit, which was
Well, again,
kind of what I
as
was
we
saying.
started this, I don't think I'm all that in a bag of chips. I try very hard. And again, people say, but I'm not doing it for a show. I'm not doing it for you to say, "Oh, you're a great husband." I'm actually
I
doing.
just happen to be.
No, I'm doing it because I like to make her happy. And
Have you ever had a time where you did feel
Jackson,
that? Where you did feel that way though?
feel what way?
Where
I was trying to be the salesman, and I wasn't.
insignificant to what everybody thought you were. I don't know. I could word that different. Like everybody else thought that you were a certain way, but internally you were like, I'm not what
No,
people think I am, or
I
I'm
don't
not
think.
as good at this as people think I am, or whatever.
I don't think so. I think if I was good at something,
You knew you were good at something.
yeah, kinda. If I was good at something, I knew I was good at it, and I wasn't afraid to tell you. If I wasn't good at something, I'd probably hide it and I wouldn't say anything about it.
That's what I'm saying. Internally, I'm not saying like you told somebody. I'm saying, was there a time where you did feel that way, where you had felt,
Second thoughts about yourself?
yeah, and you didn't tell anybody, and like people, like I said, on the outside were like,
Stupidly, and I don't know
you're
why
holding
this.
your shit together.
I don't know why this came to my mind. Stupidly, there were moments riding a motorcycle where I was scared to death, but you don't tell anybody you're scared to death, you know? But those
Especially
kind of
when your kid's on the motorcycle with you.
you know, when my kids were with me, I never had a problem when I was, it's usually, I don't know, after the accident, uh, there's a huge part of me that said, don't ever do this again.
Mhm.
But then there's a huger part that says, no,
Mama didn't raise no bitch.
you kinda. It was a no. You face your fears and you move past them. And if you don't, then you allow your fears to own you. And I wasn't going to let that happen to me. And to your mom's credit, she did the same thing.
Shit.
So,
After saying that was never, ever, ever going to happen.
yeah. But no, there were times, especially motorcycle. When I was young, when I got my first motorcycle, okay, you're done. When I got my first motorcycle,
needy today.
I wasn't scared at all. I mean, it was like riding a bicycle, kind of. But when
you didn't have to put effort.
but when I got that motorcycle, it's funny because I talked to Peanut about it, and he goes, "Can I try to ride it?" And I'm absolutely not. I said, "If you try to ride that, you'll get hurt one way or another. It's going to fall on you. You're going to get hurt." And I said, "As big a guy as I am, I have a problem holding it up." I said, "So that part kind of concerns me a little bit, but I learned to get past." But yeah, there were times that the gal that I bought it from, it was such a great deal for me, and I never actually had a bike that big. And so you go, "Yeah, I want it. Yeah, I want it," and I got it. And that day, I remember clearly that day going, "Are you sure you know what you're doing?" But I worked it out.
There have been times I only ask that question because, and me and you have talked about the whole depression, anxiety thing that you just don't have for some reason in your whole genetic line.
You don't think I do? Your mom knows I do.
You keep saying you don't. Well, the anxiety thing, I know that
the anxiety is much bigger than anybody knows. Well, she does. The depression thing, it's there occasionally.
But there are times.
But I still go back to what I said before. Like with the motorcycle is a very good example. Is the accident is you have to look in the mirror and say, okay, I have depression. I'm upset. And in my mind, and not yours, anybody else's, some people, but in my mind, I have to look in the mirror and go, you're stronger than this. You need to push past or through it. And that's me. I understand because I can do it in my own head. People get consumed and they want to shut themselves in a room. Totally get that. But there's a part of me too that says, okay, do your thing, but please understand you need to get out.
You can't do this every single time it happens.
Correct.
But I but I brought this up because there are times that even, and I don't have 5 kids.
You don't?
I'm also not as old as you,
Thanks.
but there
Wow.
are times even
I
as
think
a
those are
parent,
compliments.
even as a parent or a husband, that I've been like, am I even doing this right? And then there are also times that I've had where I've been like, I've not really felt like a failure per se, but like I'm not really making the effort I should be doing. I'm not good enough. I'm not working hard enough. I'm not being whatever you want to loop that into. All of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah,
And so I was wondering if that, because of the other things that the compliments I just gave you, if that ever was in your head, or if it was just kind of like a, yeah, we feel this way, we're gonna move past it, we're gonna
well,
do
I,
something
I
about it.
always think, and this is just how I was taught by my dad, is some people disagree. Um, your best isn't good enough. And so, as much as you try, in my head is like, yeah, I raised Zach really well. There are moments.
Like to think so.
There are moments that I'm very, very proud of.
There are moments I'm not.
No, to be specific, I brought this up before, is taking you to therapy to run.
Mhm.
My parents wouldn't have done that, and that's not a slam on them. But as Rod told me too, as a parent, you only know what you know.
Mhm.
You can't be expected. Sounds really stupid, but true. You can't be expected to know something you don't know.
Mhm.
Oh, well, this doctor over here said I should be doing. Well, I was never taught that, so how would I know?
Your neck being a
Yeah,
good example. You think all doctors should know what
our
the fuck,
doctors and
all doctors should know what the fuck they're doing.
and totally not true.
But I've talked to your other son about this,
I have another son.
because because there's a thing that me and him talked about a couple years ago, like right after he had Jonathan, and it was a post on Facebook that was like, what people see dads or whatever, and it's, I'm fine and whatever.
Yeah.
And then the other one was like, I'm a failure, I'm not making enough, I'm not sleeping enough, I'm not spending enough time, and
Yep.
all that. And me and him had talked about it a few years ago, about how it nobody prepares you for that as a parent. That just kind of gets dropped on you, and nobody talks about it. Especially like it's gotten, in my opinion, it's gotten better now. But especially for men, husbands, fathers, and all of that, is that nobody talks about that at all, ever.
You're just supposed to be
Like
expected
nobody
to.
brings it. Yeah, like nobody brings that up, that's even a thing. And so like me and him had talked about, when me and him talked about it, about how like that's something that's so weird, because it's a different level of not only responsibility, but like quickness. Like like when you have a kid, like I've told people this before. Everybody tell when I had Wyatt, everybody tells you like there's this big euphoric moment when you have a kid. Like they come
There
out,
is.
and it's like the heavens open up, and whatever, and your whole life has changed in different whatever.
And that's true.
Yes, but
And
not
then,
in that way. No, but not in that way, because that didn't happen to me.
really,
The overabundance of joy, that happened to me, but it wasn't like a. It's gonna make it sound so insignificant and mean, but it's kind of like when you know what your parents are gonna get you for Christmas, but you still open the present and you're excited that like, oh shit,
you gotta
it
show the
is what I thought.
excitement.
Yeah, but it's not like life changing. You're like, life isn't any different. And so I didn't get that with Wyatt. But what I did get was the immediate, like, I did, which I tell people, I did get there's a quote that Ryan Reynolds says about when his daughter was born, about how he used to say that, he would jump in front of a bullet for his wife, and then his daughter was born, and he realized that he was a liar because he would push his wife in front of a bullet to protect like that I got and why the whole thing with in the hospital with Wyatt being born was really cool, but it was more so the immediate, like, we got to get the ball rolling. Like, we don't have time. We don't have time to sit here. We don't have time to do this. We got to start making moves and getting this done, sort of thing. That was the immediate. And me and Brandon were talking about that, about how that's something that, like I already had the girls. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like for Brandon,
Yeah.
where he was just living like a bachelor, not thinking about anything, and all of a sudden he had this, like, I had the girls from a pretty young age, but it was just that moment was still there.
Yeah.
And me and Brandon were talking about how that's something that people don't really prepare you for, and it's something that is a really heavy thing to have, especially if you're not prepared for it. You know what I mean? And so I'll kick that question back to you of, did that kick in for you, or were you already, because you had different levels of having kids. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you had Tiffany, and then you had me, and then me and Brandon, and me, Brandon, like, you know what I mean? So you had, like, different time periods. Did it get easier? I would assume. Or was it still like that weight of, like, no, we got to keep going. Like, we can't get off the roller coaster, so to speak.
I think I'd like to go back to what you said, Brandon said about, and I use bubbles. Bubbles meaning what's going on in your head, and that hits home a lot. It's kind of like, oh, I'm cruising along. I got my daughter Tiffany, and and we're trying to have one more kid, and when you were born, and this happened when Tiffany was born, when you were born, when we got Brandon, when we got Kimberly. Amanda might have been a different story, but you're here and you go, this is my world.
Mm-hmm.
And then here comes another kid. Oh, what do I need to do now? Groceries are going to cost me more money, and this is going to cost me more money, and I'm going to need a bigger place to live, and I'm going to need another car for Lori, and all these things. To Brandon's point, is you take on so many different more responsibilities than you ever thought you needed, you had, or whatever. And it does become very overwhelming. But I got to tell you, you said something too, is, well, you're old, and yes, I'm getting there. But I also look at it as,
it was a compliment.
It is a compliment. I look at it as, being this old, like, I'm not 100, but being this old, talking to your grandpa is a great thing too. It's a luxury that not everybody gets. And how I turn that back to you, I hope you get this far, because your mom will attest to this. No disrespect to any of my kids, but my grandkids bring us so much joy. It ain't funny. It ain't even close to what you guys brought us. Seriously. And I don't know if that's
because you don't have the responsibility.
and that might be part of it too. But I'm here to tell you, if you get to that point, you'll get it. And it's funny. Side note, I never thought I was older than my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought we were all this group of people. Turns out I am older, like 4, 5, 6 years older than a lot of my friends. And we had grandkids before any of them did.
Mm-hmm.
And, hey, let's go out and party. And I'm like, oh, we're babysitting. Well, you're what? You're babysitting your grandkids, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, and it's kind of weird how it plays out. because you don't understand. We do, but you don't. And now they're there, and it's like, oh, I get it
Oh,
now.
now I get it. I said this. There's a lot more to this conversation, but I'll sum up. But me and Cheryl were just talking about this morning before she went to work. Partially, I used to say the same thing about being a parent.
Hmm?
So all the friends that I had, or even me and Cheryl had when we got together, like combined friends or whatever, nobody had kids, and they were all early 20s.
Party, woo!
Yeah, so they were like going out drinking all the time, and we did here and there, but there was a lot of times where we are like, sorry, we can't, like, we don't have anybody to watch the girls, or
Uh-huh.
like, no, they have to do this, or they're having a sleepover or whatever. And to the credit of all of my friends, they never were like, boo, you guys suck. But like you could see, and it did over time, you could see that they would stop inviting us to things because they'd be like, well, they're not going to be able to go anyway, sort of thing. And then now a couple of them have gotten married, and we also got married before all of
Yeah.
our friends. And so now a couple of them have gotten married and had a kid or two or whatever. And now they kind of understand.
Do you want to go back to them and say,
Now,
see fuckers?
now that no, because it's happened to me. Like a few friends, I've been like, hey, you want to go, to the bar and watch the game or whatever for like a couple hours? They'll be like, no, because the kid, I gotta
and so then your reply is, huh?
Weird. Boo.
Boo, yeah. Huh. But back when you were sitting over there,
Sorry.
I think it all evolves
Mhm.
because you're on this straight and narrow, and you have to adapt to all these other balloons that keep popping up. Doesn't mean you can't be as happy as you want to be. And again, the whole grandkids with the joy. I'll tell you this too, and I know I burned this into a couple of my kids' head. I married your mom because I loved your mom and I loved being with her. I did not marry her to have kids.
Mhm.
She hates that too. But to come back full circle on that. So now I have kids, they're adult kids, they have grandkids, and we're by ourselves now, so to speak. And I am just love being with her again. She goes, oh, okay, it's okay then.
No, I thought you were gonna say, now I see her all the time, and I'm like,
And I
"God, please bring me
And I'm
back
really
over."
glad that my grandkids come over because
No, we have the best time, going to Florida
Mhm.
together, and so we have the best time being together. I have friends that aren't like that. I'm. It's not that I'm disappointed. I don't know that word. I kind of makes me sad in a way that you know that.
Mhm.
But to your point back there is you're on this straight and narrow, and now all of a sudden you have all this stuff that happens to you. Doesn't mean it takes away from this.
Mhm.
I think people should look at it as it only adds to it. Like you're just this big tree trunk,
Mhm.
and now you have all these branches. You're still that tree trunk.
And I've advised people, especially like husbands and dads and stuff, of I get it, and I've said this to many people. I get it. I've been there. I get once you start the train, it's hard to stop. You know what I mean? Like it's your responsibility to provide and protect, and that's genetically innate in men in general. And so when you get married or when you have kids, your body says we need to go. We need to do all these things.
Yeah.
It's not good enough. $50,000 a year isn't good enough. 60,000 isn't good enough.
Correct.
70 isn't good enough.
Correct.
And we get on this train of this is my job.
By the way, all that's your own fault. By the way,
it's my job to keep this going. It's my job to do this, and as long as I'm doing this, I'm doing my job. And I think talking about when you feel inadequate and talking about when it is a lot and when you are feeling overwhelmed with the responsibility and stuff that you have, I think that is very helpful. That will always be my advice to guys in general. But also, I think taking a step back and really evaluating what your output is good too. Because I can sit here and make $100,000 a year plus and never be home and never see my kids, never go to a recital, never see a piece of homework.
I wouldn't want to go to
Never
a
do
recital at all.
I'm just saying,
I
like,
know.
I could do this and that would be my job and I would be fulfilling my job as whatever, as a provider of the household. But also you have to take a step back and be like, is this really worth
This.
this?
Is this really worth losing some of this?
Is $60,000 a year good enough to have this too? Or is the goal still, you know what I mean?
Well, the goal is still up here because
Well, yeah.
I'm going to need that Hulu
But I'm
subscription.
saying,
So I'm going to have to get more
Yeah,
hours.
for real.
And I'm going to have to get HBO too.
I just did all of the math for all the subscriptions, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
I put it in a spreadsheet.
Yes, ma'am. You have your own episode.
I know I do. I just have a question. And
Yes.
maybe this is
Yeah, you didn't ask me any.
Maybe this is just is this just
Are we over?
guys' perception of this whole subject?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's is this what guys or maybe just girls or women think about this? But in all of these adding of children, and this would be for both of you,
Mm-hmm.
did you ever have thoughts of, am I gonna have enough love for this one? Or if I add this child on, let's say Brandon, if I add this child on, is Zach gonna get less love than this new child?
Oh, for you? Like,
No,
like for
I'm
your
saying in
perspective?
As a
From
guy's
my
point of view.
perspective, that's where I always was.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Do guys have that?
Yeah, 'cause
Like,
I was always like, we'll make it work as
I've
far
always-
as financials go. We'll do what we have to do. I always was like, and I'll even say when you were born, I'll be like, I was like, for both of us, I was like, okay, is Tiffany gonna get slighted after 16 years? Now
Well,
we have our perfect
'cause
family,
it's a boy.
and girl. Is
she'll tell you. That's
Yeah.
the reason.
Is she gonna get slighted? Is John gonna be liking it better than he had as a boy?
I had said-
And I thought about that.
I've
Especially
said,
when you were born. When we added the other kids on, I worried more about you two both together as a unit, not getting as much because we had to give more to these other three children.
in my opinion, and I'm going to be honest, and people hate it when I say this because we're supposed to live in this fairy tale land that this doesn't happen.
Mhm.
But in my opinion, I'm gonna say there might be an exception to this, but I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say most men,
Mhm.
and I've said this, women genetically don't have a choice to not love their children. They don't. No, I'm serious. They
You don't have a choice, Lori.
No,
We have that 9 months of bonding.
No, seriously, because of that. Genetically, you don't. You can choose to not give into those feelings, or you can choose, like, there are shitty mothers, but you genetically don't have a choice to not feel something for something that was made inside of you, that took part of your genetics, that took your nutrition, that, you know, built itself around your DNA. Like, you as a woman don't really have a choice to not love them. Whereas men, we have to make a choice, and we can choose not to. And that's where I think the difference is. And I've said this many times, and a lot of dads have told me that that's a mean thing to say, and that's not true. But it is. We have to choose to love this kid. And 9 times out of 10, most dads who are there or involved in their lives do, because it's cool. Because seeing little humans grow is cool. Like, and especially like seeing parts of you and like being able to teach them things and being able to show them things and seeing them, you know, learn how to write.
Oh, I shouldn't have taught him that.
Or like things like that. That kind of grows. That kind of grows that love for men generally. So I would say personally, for me, I don't think that am I going to have enough love for all of them is a thought.
Okay.
And if it is, it's more of a logistical thought, not an emotional thought, if that
Like
makes
we're gonna
sense.
have to separate it.
Yeah, like
It's more of a time.
yeah, more of a time thing than an emotional thing.
What about you, sir?
But I did say, I said this is part of my story in life too, is when we were all at the kitchen table and the phone rang and it was Andrea
No.
and she wanted to know if we wanted to adopt Amanda. And I hung up the phone and I explained, and everybody went, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I said specifically, you have to think about this. Right now, my 4 kids get 25% of my attention. That's going to drop down to 20% when you add another.
Mhm.
And nobody got it. They just like, yeah. But that's kind of how I thought was I'm going to have to make equal time.
That's what I was saying. And
It
that's
never
what,
happens.
and, but
but
that's what I
that's
was
how
saying,
you
and
think.
not that you weren't emotional or didn't love any of us or whatever. That's not really what I'm. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The
Right.
point is
It was a time concept.
that men are problem solvers by nature. So everything that we do is in a problem solving nature. So like even that, it's not an emotional decision of like I'm not going to have enough emotion to spread between 5 different kids.
Right.
It's am I going to have enough time or energy or whatever the case is to spread out? Whereas with women and mothers specifically, it's not the opposite, but it's more emotional.
Yeah.
It's the timing doesn't really matter. Am I going to be able to give the same amount of emotion to each
I love
person?
this child
Yeah.
so much. I cannot imagine that when the second child comes,
It'll be
Then
equal. It'll be
yes.
the same amount as it
Right,
was for
then
that.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
have that.
Mhm.
And then now we're gonna add another child,
Mhm.
and oh my gosh, am I gonna be able to love that child as much as these 2 children?
And then you have 5 and you're overwhelmed.
No, I was never overwhelmed.
I didn't mean you, honey.
Oh, okay, I thought
Yeah.
you were.
You're overwhelmed.
Well, no, I don't think I was. I don't think, in looking back, again, I think we've had that conversation, I don't think I did as good a job with my 5 kids as I could have. If you asked me why, I don't know if I could answer it, because you kind of go, well, you could easily say, well, I did the best I could, but that's a cop out,
And you don't know until, like you said, you don't know until you know.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like I just made this point, and
Okay, hold on.
part of
Okay, we're done with Little League practice.
Mhm.
Let's go home and see if Mom's got something for dinner. Or, no, Zach and Brandon, let's go back to the field and let's go practice some more until you've got it down pat where you're good enough.
Mhm.
And you make that choice, and then you later question yourself of, was that the right choice?
if I would have done this, yeah. But I said I made this point when I was talking to Haley about the parenting thing, about the you don't know until you know. And I said, I told her, I was like, nothing against, my parents or whatever. And I even said this in there. I was like, I have the greatest parents. I had so much love growing up and so much like influence, not the word that, but like help when I was younger. I will never do that. But there is a generational thing of like the generation, not your, either one of your parents specifically, but that generation was the will beat it into you generation
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
most part. You know what I mean?
As they say, times
And
were different then.
But that's my point. And then you guys went into your parenting, and not you specifically, but I feel like most of your generation kind of stopped at, well, we're not beating the shit out of our kids, so
Yeah.
this is good enough. To where now my generation,
Hold on, you're skipping my generation, who thought, not me, but who thinks I need to be my kid's best friend,
No, I
Well,
think
that-
that's
Not
the
their
next
parent.
generation.
that was in there. But
not their parent,
yes, but that's a part of it.
but
But
their
then
best friend.
But yeah, so then there was a generation that was like, well, we're not beating our kids, so we're doing good enough, right? And on top of that, that started historically, that started the we need to work all the time to provide for our family generation too. So you had a whole, not only did you have a generation that kind of left parenting at, well, we're doing good enough because we're not beating our kids anymore, but
Yeah.
also weren't there because you guys did have to work a whole lot or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So then you had a whole generation raised on either uncles, aunts, babysitters, old, yeah, or just make sure you're home by the time that we get home from work.
The street lights go dim.
Yeah, and then you move
Go
on
on.
to the generation that we're in. My generation, I would like to think, where we're seeing, oh, we can do more. It's not a, well, we're not leaving our kids home. Whatever
We
our,
can do more, but we're actually doing less.
whatever our hang up is with our parents parenting.
Yeah.
We're not just going to correct that, but we're going to try to go further. We're going to try to make it better. We're not just going to leave it at the door for our kids and be like, well, we moved it.
You're on your own.
We moved it a little bit, so you can figure it out. And I feel like because we're doing that, to me, it feels like, and I'm not saying everybody, I'm just saying as a whole, that we're trying to fix a lot of generational trauma and generational curses and generational things that just us, so that our kids don't have to do it or have to go through it or even know that that's a thing. That I feel like we're giving our kids the ability to, when they have kids, not have to work through all of this other stuff, not work through all the failures and the am I good enough, or did I really make this parenting choice, or whatever. That we're giving them the ability to, like comedians. Back in the day when you were a comedian, you had to go around the United States for 10, 15 years doing shitty ass clubs.
In the same car, 400,000 miles.
Not making any money. Same
Correct.
with music.
Correct.
And now you can upload a YouTube video and you can be famous within a day.
Yep.
I feel like that's the difference between our generation and what came before that in parenting, is that we're giving our children the ability to have kids, have a blueprint, and be like, okay, I don't want to do this. I want this. I want this. I want this. And this is how I can do it. In practicality.
I disagree.
How so?
And I'm not pointing the finger at you, but whereas what you just said about way back here, you're beating your kid and I think we've come, in my opinion, I think your generation has come to a point where I already said the part about being your friend, but now you've moved forward to, do whatever you want. I have my own life to live. And you see no parenting, no, I don't want to even use the word strict, but parents that don't even parent, that have no boundaries for their kids. And do you want to go, bad analogy, do you want to go smoke pot at 10 years old? Well, the neighbor boys do it. Yeah, well, go over there. I don't care. I'm cooking dinner right now. I'm too busy to deal with you. And there's so much of that you see.
I'll kick that back at you, but also I have a point to make from what you just made. So I'll circle back to that. But I'll kick that back at you and say, not you specifically, but how many kids in my generation, Tiffany, were raised by their grandparents, not their parents. So you could say the same thing, that it's just an endless cycle of having kids and not wanting to parent them.
See, and there's my bitch too, is my daughter.
Only it's more public
My
now.
daughter will tell you it takes a village to raise a family now. And my point to that is, and I've said this to more than a few of my children, is why'd you have children? If you didn't want to raise them, and I'm not saying none of my children, I'm not saying that to any of my children that you didn't want to raise them. I think maybe there should have been some before thought.
Well, okay.
And back to your point too is, and Brandon's point too, is now these bubbles pop up of, oh my God, what am I going to do now?
Okay, but also,
Yeah, but you never start out thinking you're going to have children by yourself.
Okay, well, I'll make
True.
I'll make an even bigger point. Yes, I will say that there's a good majority. I will agree with you that are very like, well, they'll figure it out. But my kickback for earlier, and then I'll come back to what I was going to say about yours. My kickback to earlier is you can say that it's a less parenting generation of, well, kids are just figuring it out whatever.
On their own.
But suicide rate for children has gone down. The life expectancy for kids and adults have gone up since the 50s dramatically. So you could say, yes, there's a downside, but also you could say that letting your children be free or whatever
True.
has benefits in it.
True.
You have more, you're getting out of a generation that was so programmed to work in coal miners and factories and
Yeah.
the Industrial Revolution, and you have more artists, you have more, William Shakespeare's, you have more people that are discovering things outside of just, I need to put round pegs in a hole and make money for the rest of my life. So you could say that there's a benefit for you, there's a downfall and a benefit for it. That encouraging your kid to, bad example, but encouraging your kid to go smoke pot with the neighbors next door or whatever would encourage them to figure out something. You know what I mean? Giving
True.
them
So
giving them the
they're
freedom.
they're not being told what to do or how to do it. They're figuring it out on their own.
Well, yeah, because I mean, maybe it was different for you. I don't know, but how many things were you told as a kid that you found out were complete lies?
But I tell you, I still have this in the back of my head that a lot of people disagree with. If I wanted you to be a professional baseball player,
It was never going to happen.
it could have happened.
It could have not happened.
It could have happened
Genetically, it could
if
not.
I would have trained you. And I'm sorry, this is going to come out totally wrong. Beat you into submission each and every day to was your goal, and was your goal, and was your goal. And I guarantee you, maybe you wouldn't have made it to the majors, but you would have been pretty damn close.
Would I?
You would have had a mental breakdown.
No.
But
I was going to make a different
but again, I'll pull myself back and go, but would you have been happy? And that's
would I have been the wholesome, awesome person that I am right now?
McFly.
With that, okay.
But there's a point to that too. That I've understood that now too. Is happiness plays into it a lot. Or I've learned this. I didn't know that before, but I've learned this, that you could drive yourself to death even trying to be the best you could ever be,
Mhm.
and end up, there's a lot of people that end up in a bad way too.
We got to wrap up. One question. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You in the back row.
Okay.
Oh, you're asking
You sure?
me?
Yeah.
Go ahead and ask.
No, go ahead, wrap up.
Uh-oh. Doesn't sound like a good
we're
one.
gonna wrap up. But I will agree with you that there are some downsides, but I think, and maybe this is just me thinking about this idealistically or just because it is my generation doing it, but I feel like my generation, not just in parenting, but mental health wise and everything, and trauma and generational curses and things like that, that we have gotten to a point where we're working so hard to correct it and to fix it, that I feel like it feels to other generations like, I've had this conversation with you and Mom, that it feels like we're just being mean. But, and some people are, and I'm not saying it's not. There are a lot of people, I've been around them, some of them are my friends, that use it for excuses, that use things either trauma they had as children or things they think are trauma that they had as children, and they use it as an excuse of why things happen to them or why they are the way that they are or whatever. But for the most part, I feel like because this generation is picking all of that up and trying to work through it and trying to figure out a solution for it for our kids. I feel like that that feeling of low self-worth or being a failure or whatever as a parent, I would like to think is going to significantly die down, and there's going to be a weight lifted in maybe not the next generation, but close to it, if not after, of parenting that's not going to have that hold them back. To the point where I feel like you're going to see, again, idealistically, I feel like you're going to see parenting that is a lot of loving and a lot of encouraging and a lot of we'll make it work and a lot of well, I'll show up to everything. I'll give you your $20 for your field trip. I'll buy you this. I'll buy you this. I'll make sure that you're here every day. Instead of instead of what we've gotten, and I'm not, and me too. I'm not saying it's just generations past, but to where it's not like I can't do that. I'm busy, or
Yeah.
I need time by myself, or whatever. That there's going to be a weight lifted because we're not dealing with all of this or trying to heal the child in us that never got whatever. That they're not going to have that, and there's going to be a weight lifted to where they can just lovingly parent. It's not going to be correction parenting. It's not going to be yes.
So do you think, because I do believe that your generation is a lot more conscious of mental health for our children and that kind of stuff. And
Emotional
if I-
intelligence.
what?
Emotional intelligence.
Oh, all right, you. And, if I say this, what is that going to cause down the road?
Mhm.
I do believe that.
Mhm.
Do you think that the reason your generation is more conscious of that and more parenting like that is because of all of the school shootings and stuff that you all have endured in your lifetime for children that had mental illness and did these horrific things?
Oh, I don't got time to go into that, but I'm gonna give a quick answer to that. We can talk. If you want, we can switch and we can talk about that when me and you talk about it. Anyway, but no, my short answer to that is yes and no. I feel like my generation is more focused on, and not to say that this didn't happen, because I know it did with like other generations, but I feel like it was a combination of us growing up on TV and the internet and having access to everything, and then seeing friends, family, whatever the case may be, at a rapid rate die of mental health issues, whether that be school shooting, suicide, and being able to have full access to that.
Knowing that that actually does happen.
Well, yeah, because and rightfully so, but I would say in your guys' generation, it was kind of hearsay. You know what I mean? Like you only knew what happened to somebody if you read it in the paper,
You
or what
actually kept it under the rug, too.
or what your parents told.
Didn't happen in my family because I don't want you to think bad of my family that it happened.
That's what I'm saying. You going to school and that kid wasn't there one day. You only you only knew what happened to that kid based off of either what was in the news or what your parents told you. But we grew up with the internet and with TV and everything to where it was. Shit, I wish I could remember. But like even Columbine. When Columbine happened, yeah, it was all over the news, everywhere, but we had access to find it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it wasn't just something that like we're a kid, we don't watch the news, so we didn't know it happened. You know what I mean? Like we had access to the internet, we had access to, and I think that that us growing up with that vast amount of information made it more relevant in us when we grew up of like, we really need to fix some shit. Like, we can't and I don't know where that I can't personally tell you where that comes from as a generation. I can tell you where it came from personally. And I've said this, that this is, I think that our generation just had a more hyper awareness of that aspect of being a human.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of in the same vein as, okay, I really am going to wrap up, but kind of in the same vein as like nobody can really say where punk music started. They just know that at the same time, the Ramones, the Pistols, in different areas of the globe had this feeling inside of them that they needed to get out, and no matter, they weren't together, but for some reason, it all was the same feeling. You know what I mean? I think that is what happened, is that because we had access to all this stuff, it just became this is fucked up and this can't continue. And then growing up and growing up in shitty households, you guys excluded, but like
Thanks.
abusive, shitty households with parents, that we grew up and got older and realized that we didn't want this, but didn't know how to not have it.
Right.
So in correcting that behavior of, okay, how do I not have this? Okay, there's some things that I have to look for. There's maybe some things in me that I have to. And once I started making these changes, this thing that I wanted happened. And enough people did that in the same generation that they went, oh, it's a mental thing.
Mhm.
It's not a like, I just didn't find the right person. There's something wrong up here that we're not working on. Anyway, sorry.
Do I get my closing
Yeah, sorry.
statement now?
You can make
So back to you sitting over here,
Mhm.
and you're idealistic.
Do you really want me to sit?
No,
back
no.
over? It's really
No,
bothering me.
but we were talking about idealistic,
Mhm.
and I don't think you need to stay that idealist. And to my point of what I was going to say is the tree trunk.
Mhm.
So this is me, and I'm this tree trunk,
Mhm.
and I'll grow as the sun and the rain
Mhm.
gets me to grow, but I'll grow like this. Whereas if you broaden your mind, if you have a spouse, significant other, if you have children, if you have all these other experiences, now you become this flourished tree that is like this. And so get over your big bark self and flourish as a big tree.
Oh my God.
There you go. My
That
2 cents worth.
was a very cute closing statement.
I know.
Then-
No, my life.
Fall.
I wish Zach Jackson Cole. I wish I could give my life to everybody, because I think I've had a phenomenal life. Have I had failures? Yes. But I look back at my life and go, I've led an incredible life. And it wasn't just because it happened to me, because we decided to do this and go here and go here and do this and this and this. And it became huge. To my opinion, it became huge. Back to your point where I go to the foundry. That's why I brought up Eminem and you know, and then you go home and you even drink a couple beers at your kitchen table in your double wide,
Mhm.
no, single wide, sorry, single wide, and you go to bed and you get up and do it the next day. You are responsible for you, and you need to grow yourself, and then you'll see what a great life you could have.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you very little. Okay.
Okay.
Peace out. We don't do beans and cornbread.
No, you don't
Come
get
on.
beans and cornbread.
Cheryl, if you ever listen to this and you get to this point, I miss your beans and cornbread.